Hello and welcome to Books, Movies, Musicals, and More, a podcast where I, Maya Ortiz, discuss books, movies, musicals, and more. Today we are diving into the more and discussing Pixar's new TV show, Win or Lose. And I am always a sucker for a Pixar project. As someone who grew up playing competitive softball, I was so happy to hear they were making a TV series following a youth competitive softball team. And I was even more excited to learn that the episodes would follow different characters' perspectives of the same events. And Pixar really outdid themselves this time. I don't know what age the show is truly written for, but as someone who knows the youth softball sports world too well, this project hit pretty close to home. Today, joining me on this episode is my sister, Sydney Ortiz. This show is truly one to watch with your families. I watched it with my two sisters and mom, and we all deemed it a really powerful representation of youth sports and the pressures of growing up. Sydney is no stranger to the competitive sports world and has been playing soccer since she was 3. We are both former coaches' kids in soccer and me with softball as well. And through my softball years, I played multiple positions, including pitcher and outfield, which are relevant to the show, and I spent my last 3 years of high school umpiring. There are spoilers past this point. The show has 8 episodes, which are typically 22 minutes long, and I urge you to watch it if you haven't already. It's not a ton of time, and it's a really good story and show. The show follows the perspective of 8 different characters: the coach's daughter with anxiety, the umpire with relationship issues, the catcher under pressure to finance her fees for the next season, the single mother of the catcher trying her best, the lonely younger brother of one of the players, the pitcher who struggles with revealing his true heart, the new player trying to fit in and make her father proud, and finally, the coach who uses softball as a way to connect with his daughter who splits time between his and her mom's house. There truly is representation in this TV show for everybody, so definitely check it out. Sydney, who is your favorite narrator or the most relatable character for you in the show?
I felt like I could relate to a lot of the characters just through I've played competitive sports for 13 years, and so I just felt like I could definitely relate to Kai on the level of it's so hard to come to a new team and want to fit in. And so that was definitely, and then obviously you have parents who have helped support you through the way, and you want to do well for yourself, but you also want to do well for them. So to make their sacrifices feel worth it. So I thought I could really relate to Kai. But I also, as the youngest of 3, I could relate to Ira because I was always at Maya's or our older sister Kathleen's games, and I was just always there, and sometimes it was lonely, sometimes you wanted to be on the field with them and you couldn't be all the time. So I could definitely relate to him as well. And then I also kind of related to Lori as the coach's kid, and I related to her and her kind of struggles, but mostly I'd say Ira and Kai.
Yeah. I think my favorite narrator was Lori, who is the coach's daughter. She was just so motivated to do well. And I don't know anyone who actually practices on their own and wants to growing up in the competitive sports league, but she tried so hard to be good, to please her father, to be a part of the team. And it was really sad to see her struggle with both trying to make her father proud and be a player who fits on the team, but also seeing everyone around her get complimented, and then just seeing her relationship with anxiety and seeing that on screen was really cool, and how Pixar went about it with the little anxiety pet monster thing that kept following her even though she tried to get rid of it, and that it wasn't always there, but when it was there, it was kind of all consuming. And her teammates really loved her. And that was something that I really loved to see. And I think that's something that's so good about softball is it's just such a team environment and so supportive, the chants in the dugout, everything. And then this is an important spoiler, so if you haven't watched the show, tune off, go watch it. But I was so happy for her when she told her dad she wanted to quit because that takes a lot of courage. And she was also using softball as a bonding tool with her dad, and he wasn't always present and wasn't always able to show up. But that really was their relationship. And it's so hard to quit a sport, especially when like all of her friends are playing it and she's been playing it with these people for a while and they go to school with her. And so to get the courage to figure it out, say, I need to step away from this. I want to step away from this. I'll be better if I do. And then to finally tell her dad that was really, really big. And it's a hard conversation to have, especially when it means so much to you and your parents, and on top of that, your friends. And then each episode had a charm that followed the character who was narrating it. We talked about Lori with her little monster. And then the umpire had his armor and like a fantasy touch. Rochelle, she had her entrepreneur self. It was kind of very Onceler-esque. Vanessa, Rochelle's mom, had her social media likes and her social media following that kind of followed her. Ira, the younger brother, he had a video game, also fantasy element to his episode. Ewan, the pitcher, had like a cardboard cutout of himself that was kind of like the true form of himself in a little heart house. And then Kai sank and levitated based off of her emotions. And then in the final episode, we see the coach enlarge as his emotions were more bottled in. What was your favorite individual charm to the episode or animation choice for a specific narrator?
I really did like Lori's because I think it was such a good representation of anxiety, especially in like it's weighing on her and it's bringing her down, and it just follows her around. It's always there even when she doesn't think she's like stressed about. It's always there, and you can try to close the door on it, but it's just gonna find a way through. And so I thought they did a really good job with that one, and I thought it was kind of the most relatable one, and I think it was easy to understand, so I really like that one the best.
Yeah. I think my favorite was Ewan's heart house and like cardboard self. I think it did a really great job of emphasizing the difference between like the heart and soul of a person and who they want to be perceived as and like try to be. And I think it was really good representation to see like a teenage boy be such like just have this like soft soul that he's keeping from everybody, because there is this like chauvinistic or like macho persona that you want to take on or feel you should. And women have it too in different ways of like you're trying to be someone else to please the people around you or to impress the people around you, when like in reality there's a true self that like people want so much more, and he realizes that in his relationship. But also just like you have feelings on the inside that you keep to yourself, and you don't always have to, but it is something that everybody has. And so getting to know someone in the truest form that they have is really important. And I thought that was really cool to see, especially through the perspective of Ewan in particular.
Yeah.
And then that individual charm is something so new to Pixar projects because you can't really do it in movies where like you have to have a specific narrator and tell the story a specific way in a cohesive way. And so I found it really cool that they took this opportunity in the TV show form to expand and play around with their animation style that way. And it was just really, really special. Inside Out, I feel, tried to do something similar when they like went in the brain of the mom or the brain of the friend, and the emotions were different, which was really cool and kind of like a precursor to this whole thing. But it didn't have quite the individuality that Win or Lose had. And this show really had important representation, like we talked about earlier. It showed different family dynamics. It showed differing personalities. It made it a co-ed softball team, so you got the male and female perspectives that both held really important value and dimension, and it made this piece really universal. And it allowed male coming of age stories to be told, which I feel we don't get enough of. It had the first openly Christian character, at least in a good bit, from Pixar and Disney, which was really cool. And then while the representation is great, it is really important to talk about the controversy regarding Kai's storyline when talking about Win or Lose. Kai was originally written to be very like blatantly trans, and Pixar ended up removing the blatant part of the storyline, and it became more centered around her relationship with her father and being good enough for her father. And they had some touch of like the story was very much still there. However, you did have to make those connections and infer and like claim the representation on your own. It wasn't just blatantly said, which is important, especially in like media for younger audiences, because that representation is important to be seen. But she has a storyline that very much discusses her transition from baseball to softball, which is still reminiscent of that original storyline. And she has a very difficult conversation with her dad about switching sports and what that means. She takes the photos off her grandma's wall of her playing baseball and hides them. Those are some of the moments that like showed that the trans storyline was still there, but you shouldn't have to collect a bunch of crumbs to be represented, especially when like they meant to give you a cookie. That's not the best feeling. So it is really disappointing that Pixar ended up making that decision. But so is opening the news every day. So it's a sad sign of the times, I feel. Was there a specific representation storyline that really hit home with you, Sydney?
I don't know if there's like one that overly like super hit home, but I was really impressed with the way they did so many different representations. And so I really loved all the different family dynamics because I feel like there's always either like, yeah, always have that one happy family who's just there's always a mom and a dad, or it just always seems to be there's either that or like the divorced family. And I feel like they did a better job of, hey, we can have like some families that are divorced, we can have some families with younger siblings, and it doesn't necessarily take away from all the characters and it doesn't make it seem forced. Like I felt like all the family dynamics weren't forced at all, and they all added something like really important to the storyline, which I feel like a lot of movies and shows kind of force it, and then it's like, but this doesn't impact the storyline at all. But I think showing so much of the family members actually really helped grow the storyline, and you really got to understand, why is this character like this, or what is this character dealing with at home? Because, and I don't know, honestly, I have no clue who this show is, what age it's guided towards, but I feel like if you're a little girl or a little boy watching at home, and it's hard if your family's different than maybe the basic, I have a mom and a dad and we're super happy, I feel like they showed a lot of, oh my goodness, I have representation too, and someone sees and recognizes that. And I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like when I watched that, I didn't just see representation in one character or one moment, and I think that's huge when you're watching something, especially when you're younger. Is I feel like I never saw characters who maybe they didn't like necessarily look like me, but even like their personalities, like nothing really felt like they fit exactly. And so like to see this where you can be like, oh my goodness, I see myself in episode 1 and episode 5 and episode 8, like, and so I think it helped so much of just like how they did the characters' personalities and family dynamics.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And you mentioned like being able to see everybody's family, which it wasn't a thing I processed before coming on to this podcast with you. but we really did go in everybody's house, or like Ewan, we saw his like mom's food truck. And so they really did show you so many different types of people, so many different types of family structure. I thought the umpire perspective was so accurate, and being an umpire, we need more representation. It's a hard job and you hate on it, but it's really difficult work and it's emotionally draining. Ira was a storyline I wasn't expecting. We watched the show, and like I knew the basic premise. I don't know how much anybody else really knew about it, but I had no idea whose perspectives were in each episode. And to have an episode from the younger siblings' perspective was something I just didn't expect. And so you really can see a bit of yourself in every character, whether it's the family structure, whether it's the anxiety and the stuff they're dealing with, the pressures that they're facing, whether it's one stage of your life or someone else in your life that you can relate it to. It was just so many different perspectives that you could see, and that is just so incredible the way they did it. You really could relate with everybody. There
Yeah,
wasn't one person.
I feel like they did it in a way of, if you're younger, you didn't have to exactly read through every single line. And so I think that was great. But also when you're, and you could probably relate to a few characters, but when you're older, I feel like you can literally read through the anxiety lines. Like a little kid might not know exactly like, well, what is Kai dealing with? Or what is Lori, what is that on her shoulder? I think that's just a pet. But I think like as you grow older and you can fully like comprehend exactly what's going on with each character, there really is some deep stuff that you can be like, yes, I totally get that and I relate to. Or there's just the basic, well, that looks like my family out there. That looks like my best friend's mom and her. Like, you can see yourself in that. And I think they did a good job of, yeah, they can see it deeply, but we can also do it in a straightforward way that a lot of younger kids can just understand through one look.
Yeah, it was like passive and natural representation, and it was really, really beautiful and well done. It's called Win or Lose. There are low-key a lot of losses. But Sydney, what was your favorite win of the show?
That's hard. I feel like my favorite win might have been like Ira's win of just like his sister didn't forget about him. Like they, even though like they were, Ira was going through his own stuff and he was in a big mess he had gotten himself into, but his sister never forgot about him. And I think in his episode he really thought, wow, my sister totally is distracted with her boyfriend. She doesn't care about me anymore. And I think that's like in the scene, everybody, I thought, oh, she's running because she's mad at Ewan. But no, that was never like, I'm sure she was mad at him, but she was not going to run off the softball field and leave her teammates. That was for her brother. And I thought that was like, oh, so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really beautiful. My favorite, and I mentioned it earlier, was definitely Lori telling her dad she wanted to quit. That is such a hard conversation to have. And just to get the courage, and like she made that decision on her own. All of her friends were on the softball team, so I really don't see her talking to too many of them about it. And like we saw the events leading up to it, so that conversation never really happened. And then her mom wasn't really present in the softball world, and neither, it seemed, was her sister. And so that really was a conclusion she came up to on her own. And like when you're faced with so much anxiety, to make a decision and follow through, and just like, I was just so proud of her for being able to get the courage to tell her dad that, because it is hard. What was the hardest loss for you to see in the show?
I feel like one of the hardest losses was that cheating scandal that happened.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It would be like my biggest fear would be to like be caught in that cheating scandal. And I really felt for like Kai, because Kai was not supposed to be involved, you know? Like she had said no, she had set a boundary, and Rochelle kept pushing and pushing for her own reasons, which is totally like I don't even, like, you can't even judge that. You know, when you get all these different perspectives, it's like, wow, like, you never get to see what people are going on. And it takes place in middle school, I think. I might be wrong. High school,
Yeah,
I don't
middle
know.
or high school, one of the two.
But,
Yeah.
like, you never know what's going on with, like, your classmates at home or, like, things like that. And then to, like, see that perspective, it was really, like, hard. But then poor Kai got stuck in the middle of passing that paper, and then, boom, you're getting yelled at by your teacher and stuff like that. But she really didn't know what was going on. Like, and so I thought that was kind of a hard loss because I would be so sad if that was me. And I mean, you don't even know what's on that paper.
Well, and Kai was new to the team, and so she had the pressure of, like, helping out two of her teammates, and then the extended pressure of, like, I'm trying to make my dad proud. If I do this, like, he's going to kill me. And so she was just in a really, really tough situation, and then you get caught, and yeah.
I felt really bad.
Yeah. I had so many hard losses in the show. It was every episode. The dad driving away, like, knowing Lori would see him less if he was replaced at coach. That was so difficult. Rochelle getting into trouble at the party. Like, she was just trying to make money to pay her fees. And then she was going behind her mom's back, and it was just a mess. Vanessa worrying about her daughter at the party. Ira being manipulated by the guys at the party.
The party was not a good place.
The party was not a good place. The people at the party, not good people, except those, like, drunk girls or whatever. They were chill. But I mean, it was loss after loss. And then Lori being overlooked by her father as well. It was just pain. The whole show is pain, except the wins we talked about previously. But it's good, so watch it.
So good.
But yeah, we're gonna end the episode with a game. Pick up the energy a little bit. What sports should players on the Pickles softball team play if they didn't play softball? And so, first character, we're going to go Kai. What do you think?
Okay. I feel like Kai, this one just came to me. Like, I think Kai could be, like, a swimmer, which sounds really weird. I feel like Kai she would be very good at, like, freestyle or butterfly. I don't know. I could see Kai getting ready for that swim meet and, like, being 10 times faster than anybody else. But I also feel like Kai could do any literal sport because Kai, she just gives off, like, natural born athlete vibes. And also, like, she'll put that effort in. And we saw her putting that effort in. And so I feel like she'd be successful in anything, but very random. I feel like she could be a really good swimmer.
Yeah, that's a good take. She, like, joined a softball team out of nowhere, made it to the state championship in one season, and was, like, the best player on the team. She's incredible. Like, she's just an incredible athlete. I thought basketball. I don't know what it was, but I feel she'd be really great on the court. Fast. She can throw, so she could probably shoot a hoop. I feel that be the next court I see her on, or the next sport I see her
She
in.
could be the next Caitlin Clark with all those long 3-pointers with that arm. That arm would get her some far 3-pointers.
Yeah, but she could genuinely do whatever she puts her mind to. Next character, Ewan, and, like, I'll start. I really got nothing. He's a hard one to place, especially because we, like, saw both aspects of him, and so we saw the part of him that was trying to be perceived, but then also the other, like, internal soul heart part of him. And so I had a really difficult time with this one. I ended up deciding on bowling. Co-ed sport, you know. But yeah, kind of hard for me. I don't know.
I was gonna say he could do football. He probably wouldn't be very good at it. But he's the pitcher. He has the arm, so he could be a quarterback. Or I was gonna say doubles tennis. I don't know. That'd be, like, his, like, sweeter, you know, the internal side. I feel like he'd be really good at, like, co-ed tennis. You know, him and Taylor. They could do tennis together. I feel like they'd have fun. I feel like that'd be more of a hobby. I don't think he'd ever want to take that up like professionally because that is hard. And I just don't think he would want to do that. But I could totally see him enjoying football and then like on the side with all his friends playing like doubles tennis.
Yeah, I like that. Next one, Lori. What do you think? If she wasn't taking a break from sports, what's her next big thing?
Lori, I think, okay. I feel like maybe Lori could be a volleyball player. Maybe. I think I could see her, I think she's fast. I think she has that natural born like speed maybe. And I think
we saw her running in that one episode.
Yeah, okay. We saw her running in one episode and I thought maybe she's got the speed and then like that one on bases I was a little worried about. But I think volleyball would give her a good space. It'd be something new she could try. And I think she could just do it for fun. Like I don't ever see her playing another sport competitively because I just don't think she'd like that. But I could totally see her maybe like doing volleyball for fun and just like being all over the court, saving all the balls and like all that. But honestly, I feel like she's the hardest one for me. I have no clue what she would want to do or what she would be good at, but I feel like her work ethic would get her far.
Yeah. A church volleyball league seems like the perfect place for her.
Yeah.
I do think she should enjoy her break from sports, but I was thinking maybe like wrestling. Like she could be a lightweight wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that would last, but it'd be something fun.
Yeah.
That was all I could come up with.
I don't know. I feel like if she did wrestling, she might if she did wrestling, she might be a little too nice to be like, I'm gonna put you down. Like if she was going up against like Rochelle or Kai or Ewan or Taylor, and she'd be like, yep, I'm gonna wrestle you guys now. Like I just don't feel like in her heart she could do that. And I know that would cause me a lot of anxiety to be like one-on-one with somebody, but I could see that. I could also see her like though really excelling, and you kind of put like some of your persona away when you're playing sports. So like, if that kind of makes sense, but like, so I could see her enjoying that. I just don't know. She's a hard one to place into another sport.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be a good growing experience for her. The next person we have is Tom. He is the other side of the cheating scandal. What do we think?
Tom is super tall.
Yes.
And he has a lot of height. So I'm thinking basketball.
Okay.
Because he's got the height. He could probably dunk. But honestly, I'm not exactly sure. But I feel like he'd be a good center. Put him as the center for the Lakers.
Yeah, okay. He's made it all the way to Lakers status.
NBA status. I think he's a natural-born basketball player. He should have been in basketball. Skip the softball route. Put him in basketball.
Yep. I went with long jump for similar reason. Got really long legs. So that was where I ended up. Put him in track. Get him running. Get him jumping.
Yeah. He could probably, his strides would be much longer than everybody.
Put him in cross country, actually. Lori should also do cross country.
I could see Lori in cross country.
She has that endurance.
And mentally, I think she's there to where she could, like, I feel like running's a big mental game. It's like, you got to keep going. And I feel like Lori, she's got that mental aspect. That would push her to keep working, and you're gonna finish the race. You've got it internally.
Yeah, since we went back up to Lori, I'm actually gonna circle back to Ewan. I think he'd be a great skateboarder.
I could see that too. And I think he'd like it enough so he'd be like, yeah, I could see that.
I think his level of coolness.
Yeah, I think he'd feel really, really cool externally. Like he'd be like, I am him. That would be him.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Next character, we have Rochelle.
Rochelle
She's an icon. What do we think is
is
her next pick?
amazing. Love Rochelle. I feel like Rochelle is amazing at softball. I believe her and Kai were like the two best players on the team. I think they were. I think that's how the show was supposed to make them seem. I don't know. But I really enjoyed watching her play softball. So I don't know if I'd ever pull her out of softball for anything else. But I feel like she could be a really good forward playing soccer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like she's like, I could see her scoring a lot of goals. And like some like bangers. I feel like that'd be her good place. And I think she was fast. She was fast, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
She was running. Like, she was running from that chicken.
She was. Yeah. So she has the athleticism. She's great. She'll be amazing. And she has those leg muscles from all the squatting catchers have to do. So those, I'm telling you, those strikes on the ball, those would be really hard and not fun for a goalie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Rochelle really is the perfect catcher, so I would like to keep her there. But I was thinking maybe ice hockey.
Oh, okay, I could see that.
I think she could kill it on the ice. So someone get her skates. I need to see that game.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have Taylor. What do we think about her? And she was trying out new positions. She was trying new things.
Yeah, I think Taylor, out of all the characters, is the most open to trying something new or adding something on. I could totally see her staying with the softball team. I could see all these people really staying. I think it'd be so fun if like they all just stayed for like forever. They did this because I mean, I used to have soccer practices, and right next door there was a co-ed softball like adult league. So I want to see all these people stay together. Maybe Lori can return after she has a break, maybe in 20 years, to them all older and still playing co-ed softball together.
We would have such a fun slow pitch league in 20 years. Yes.
I'm all for that. Taylor, I think the best sport that she could really excel in is, I don't know. I feel like this is hard for her. I feel like she could excel in basketball, maybe. I could totally see her up in basketball as a basketball player, or I could see her as what is the player in volleyball that's like in a different,
is it a libero?
Libero. But libero, I'm not sure. I could see her as one of those. Because I think they're the ones who always get like the balls and like do a lot of the diving, maybe. I think.
Yeah.
So I could see her as that.
Yeah, I gotta go Taylor in volleyball. I think a lot of good softball players are good volleyball players, and so I think that is where she would thrive. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Books, Movies, Musicals, and More. For more episodes, subscribe below or follow Zitro Yams on TikTok for updates. Thank you so much, Sydney, and thank you for watching.